Hey, so welcome to episode 5 of Antlia. We are in the expansion phase of the game. Is this what they call the golden times? The golden times before the wars? So it's pretty much just expansion going on in this turn for all players, but we've at least got some interesting expansion strategies to check out. Though Ermor's, I would say, is fairly common for EA Ermor players, and that's not a bad thing, because it works. Though these unscripted units in this blob here are still tripping me out. Just some cavalry and militia, nothing a few equites can't handle. It's actually kind of funny. This is kind of a mirror match, except Ermor's units are just so much better than the Independents. And Ermor isn't taking any losses in these two fights. But this is the more interesting part of Ermor's turn, and that's that he's getting pretty far up to the north here. And we know Agartha's sitting right here, so this could lead to some complications. Now, this technically isn't in Agartha's cap circle, but I imagine that Agartha might be a little bit upset with Ermor owning this province. And even this one is getting a little bit close. Now, I can understand why this expansion party is moving into this province. For one thing, there's a couple of really nice farms over here, so he's got an incentive to come and check out what's going on in this area. And for another, his other two options for expansion are a little bit risky with just the 4 equites. Lion Tribe can come in pretty hefty numbers, and they often have mages spamming things like Tangle Vines, which would be a problem for, about 8 equites, but 4, it's getting a little bit spooky. And Bone Tribe are just gross. All around gross. But up here, I think this is a little bit greedy. And Ermor runs the risk of having an unusually shaped territory if he pushes too far in this direction. I'd be a little tempted to move these guys into these Wolf Tribe right here. It would ensure easy access to this throne, and it'd be a lot easier to make, a more rounded out territory. But if anyone in this game is going to be tussling for territory with other players early on, this nation is probably the most capable. Though Agartha's got a pretty ugly looking ball of Mind Blasters up here that I at least wouldn't want to fight. And we'll go ahead and watch both of Ktiss' expansion battles because they both have different compositions. He's got almost 30 of these slave lizards against, this kind of standard independence. He's got this little sacred serpent here, and all it's really doing for these is giving a morale bonus to them. So it's not engaging in the fight too much, which is ideal because he probably doesn't want it to die. But yeah, these elite warriors are pretty efficient expanders. They're not enormously expensive. They've got acceptable protection, and they do 2 attacks, 6 attacks per square, really good. The catch is low morale, not the greatest defense skill, and they also have no helmet, no shield, so they're vulnerable to projectiles. And this is that expansion party that had all those militia that joined up with that priest. Not an enormous amount of independence, but I don't think he's too worried about it. These militia are actually doing a number on that heavy infantry up there, which is pretty funny. You'd think they'd do a lot worse, but I guess there are enough numbers of them to harass them down. No, he bled to death. Yeah, 4 times as many militia. Of course it's going to win against 7 heavy infantry. I thought there were more heavy infantry here. And someone was spelunking in Witch Haven, found some earth gems. That's a lot of earth gems, actually. Ktiss has gotten really fortunate with these independents, and I've said it before, but just look at how easy all these independents are compared to some of the other players in this game, like Agartha and Shabab. This stuff is just a breeze to move through. He's bringing down a lizard shaman to maybe site search here, or I don't know, he might be picking up these soldiers. I'm not sure what the idea is with him. Maybe he wants them to build somewhere. Looks like he's building a temple here. So I think he's definitely thinking about forting up right here. It's a good spot for a fort. And he's summoning a Black Servant with Zalamu. Black Servant usually is used by people to scout. I think this is kind of an expensive research turn to summon a Black Servant with. That's a lot of research points you're trading for a Black Servant. It might be a turn or two before you can pick up one of these to cast Black Servant. I think it would have been something more like maybe picking up one of these instead of 2 of the shamans would have been nice. And then he could summon one with something that, isn't so valuable research-wise. But still, scouting is a good habit, and getting scouts that don't take up your extremely limited recruitment on your capital is really nice. And I just checked, he hasn't found any independent scouts yet. He's recruiting a commander here, so yeah, definitely building a fort here. And I'm really excited to see him use this expansion party here that he's got building up. I'm liking the variety in expansion parties that we're seeing in this game. Agartha has received a message from Oceania. It's just talking about potentially trading nature gems to Agartha in exchange for earth gems in the future, and Oceania wants a dwarven hammer. And we'll peek in on Agartha's expansion battle. A bunch of Mind Blasters sitting behind some squishy pink boys in a bunch of bronze armor. And I just think the humans wear it better. These guys just look so much better in bronze armor. Oof. But it's subjective, I suppose. I had a lot of trouble accepting Agartha. These things are just so damn nasty looking. But yeah, the moment I started this, we're going to see a lot of Mind Blast spam. Just look at that. This is where I was saying earlier where I wouldn't want to fight Agartha. It's not necessarily because Agartha is a huge threat in the early game. it's because it'd just be a huge pain in the ass to fight them. You take a lot of losses. Your nice expensive sacred units that blow through everything just get paralyzed and sit there while these nasty things cut them up. You could definitely counter them with high combat speed units and projectiles and things like that. It would just be really messy. You know, a lot of numbers. Man, she's almost gotten rid of all of her unarmored pale ones and only one left, and now is forming a larger army up on the silver wall. Absolute shitload of mind blasters. And I think next turn is going to be a surprise both for Agartha and Ermor when Ermor pops up in both of these provinces here. I'm wondering how Agartha is going to react to Ermor popping up. It'd be really, really cool to see an army with this composition fight one of Ermor's expansion parties. Limestone Skinnerd. That's a stretch, but I accept it. So remember, Femoria moved onto a province with some heavy cavalry with both of his armies, combining them into one big mass of Braveheart-looking dudes. Unfortunately, not an enormous amount of heavy cavalry. Could have been a lot worse. I'm always a little bit spooked against heavy cavalry when I'm using units like this. But, you know, they seem to be holding off just fine from the initial charge. 15 defense skill can be pretty handy against cavalry. That guy's running for his life. Look at him go! He's gonna make it. He made it! You know, so only 5 deaths. There very well could have been like 20 heavy cavalry here. So he took a risk and it paid off. And now he's got this big, beautiful land before him. Fortunately, there wasn't anything disgusting right here, or else he might have been blocked off for a minute. He goes, man, I would not want to run this army into that province. And he did find a turtle village here. You know, since he's already using all these javelins, I'd almost want to recruit these. Like, if you compare these to the units that he's using, they're better in some ways and worse than others. But the really cool thing is that they've got poison on javelins, they've got higher protection than his typical javelin throwers, and they're actually a little bit cheaper. It's more just something to think about. Like, always pay attention to the independence that you can pick up, because sometimes, especially when you have a big scales build like this and you can afford it, you can find some pretty good independent units. Though this, of course, is extremely good. And since he's going to be moving armies out from here in this direction anyway, almost certainly, he could end up having like 6 to 10 of these just waiting there, ready to go, join up with the army wherever it's going. And yeah, just as another example, if he wanted to, he could get a heavy cavalry here a turn. You know, just like 4 to 6 of these would be good enough for attack rear commands that could actually mess stuff up quite a bit, especially in bumping another player. But yeah, just some thoughts. Remember to check your independent units. They can be really good sometimes, or at least, you know, just good, especially when recruitment is the limiting factor for you and not gold. I was just pointing out this is some really lucky randoms on these druids right here. He's gotten 1 of each in his first 3 recruitments. That's nice. I really like these for construction. I don't recruit very many of these as Femoria. I tend to switch over to these extremely quickly because, you know, they're just really good battle mages. These are really nice to have sitting around for just random construction tasks when you need them. You know, they can forge owl quills, girdles, water bracelets, water lenses, storm spools, you know, just whatever you need, lightning rods. And Vanheim has had 2 expansion battles with different compositions. This is his first one using his Vanheirses. Let's freshen ourselves up on his Bless. Attack skill, shock resistance, cold resistance, reinvigoration, and blood surge. Pretty good Bless, actually. One that I would feel fairly comfortable playing with. And yeah, if you haven't seen Vanheirses in action, you're about to. These things are disgusting. They go berserk. They have 6 attacks per square. As you can see, they just chunk through squares like that. You see that square just disappear? It had 3 units in it, just poof. 31 kills from the 8 Vanheirses, only 2 from the 5 Huskarls. Just absolute killing machines, and stealthy, and glamour. This is why people usually don't like boarding Vanheim in the early game. And this is just, I actually think, a pretty ballsy move with his 15 Huskarls into a kind of a lot of Wolf Tribe. This looks like, what, like 30 or 40? But, you know, these things are actually handling Wolf Tribe fairly well. Glamour popped on a decent number of them, but with his profit here, he's actually able to beat through these just fine. Like, I would have been a little bit scared to take on this province. But yeah, only 4 losses against 43 Bear Tribe. Actually, I did mistake these for Wolf Tribe. Wolf Tribe is a hell of a lot scarier because their little frontline dudes have 6 attacks per square. But still, pretty ballsy, and he's just going to keep on going into these monkeys with just 11 Huskarls, with a lot of them. This one's crippled, never healing wound, battle fright, yikes. And you know what? I honestly think that this is probably low for the scout estimate. I'm imagining there's probably at least 60 to 80 monkeys here. Then we'll see how that goes. His profit's there. Hopefully nothing bad happens to it. Hell, Glamored Huskarls, they might be able to match up. I'm kind of I tend to play it safe when I'm expanding, for better and for worse. Like, I wouldn't have moved on to this province. I would have maybe combined it with something from the capital and then, like, just kept moving on. But as you can see, you know, this paid off. This was a ballsy move and it paid off. And speaking of ballsy moves, hopefully there's not too many cataphracts here. The Vanheim's will probably be fine. It was kind of funny. If you remember last episode, I was talking about how I thought the axes were better than the spears. Well, he's recruiting them now. And he must have been watching the episode and picking up tricks. No. This turn happened like a month ago. So yeah, not sure why the sudden change in composition. Maybe it has something to do with his resources. And pretty negligible, really. I mean, honestly, these spear ones expanding up here might have been doing as well as they have been doing because of that little bit of extra defense skill. I just really like this damage on this axe compared to the spear, especially when going up against player armies. So I'd rather have a big pile of these for when a war starts than a big pile of these. Because against independents, a lot of times what you need to do is have your expansion parties survive. You want longevity out of them. And you don't need to kill the independents, you need to rout them. Against players, you want to be killing. You want whatever you're fighting to die and to never come back. Man, you know there's some nasty shit going on when Yomi gets a message from Shabab and the only contents are excellent. Alright, you just know there's something evil happening. And I know I've said it before, I just love this expansion party right here. Just look at this. He didn't get a full spread of wolves this time like he did on the first two expansions. He only got 2 of them. But yeah, there's like 6 unit types here. There's 4 commanders, all of them different. All the commanders are doing different things. I'd be thinking it was the end of the world if I was these guys. Look at these guys. They're organized. They've got their uniforms. They're chilling, protecting their lands from nasty, disgusting stuff like this unsuccessfully. As you can see, they're just getting chewed up by all this nasty bullshit. And all they managed to kill were the foul spawn mercenaries. This is why that mercenary band is so cheap, by the way. It's just fucking dies. Like, there are good foul spawns that you can get a hold of. These ones aren't really it. And if you remember, I said earlier that Ermor might be expanding a little bit greedily up in this direction. This is Ermor's capital right here. Well, this is kind of what I'm talking about. It's like Yomi's closing in, and there's a very good chance that Yomi might move in onto this province after this one because it's so poorly defended. And now Ermor looking at an enemy nation just 2 provinces away from his capital. So that's why you gotta be a little bit careful when you're extending way out. You never know unless you have a scout in the region, which he actually does have a scoutry, but he hasn't been moving it very much. He's gonna know next turn that Yomi's sitting here. And Yomi has a second expansion party. This one looks a lot more normal than the first one, but still got some wonky ass shit in it. Oni are really cool. They huck fire. They got 3 fireballs sitting in their pocket, and they just throw that shit like javelins. And then they just one-shot human-sized units. They also have chaos power, which means they get more powerful in turmoil and unrest. And he just gets these things for free. They just free spawn on his capital. They free spawn on temples, which is why he's building them. And he's got this Kuro Oni too, which is kind of the same, you know, it's got a few fireballs sitting around. And then it spits poison too. This thing is like a mini boss. And his script is pretty straightforward. He's got a big blob of goblins up front. These things will meat grind at 6 attacks per square. And then these are way in the back, I think because of their super high combat speed compared to the goblins. He doesn't want to lose these, so he'd rather just have them sitting in the back and they'd run up and throw some fireballs and poison spit and shit in without getting too close to enemy lines and potentially dying. And if you remember last turn, Shabab moved literally everything they had to this monkey province, which I mean looks really cool. Some scorpions, a big pile of bats, including some sun guides that are automatically blessed because his pretender is here, and it's just a disgusting bless. Though not enormously powerful on the sun guides. It'll come up when he gets to his blood summons. He's got some archer mercenaries, a couple of blood mages sitting here, scripted to summon imps. His pretender was just beastly except for his HP, which is somewhat similar to a fly. And then a bunch of cute girls. Ooh, this is northern jungle. We no go there. We also no go eastern jungle. Stupid monkey hang out there. We live in center jungle. Center jungle nice. Ugly bats, large bugs threaten jungle. We protect. A lot of blood slaves are about to disappear here. Just poof. Turn to a bunch of imps which fly up and come down among the monkeys. Start wreaking havoc. Bats follow soon afterwards, do a ton of damage the moment they hit. But, you know, bats are a little bit vulnerable to projectiles, which is probably why he brought just so much to this fight. Along with the scorpions chewing up the marcadas, this one by really quickly, and looks like the end times out here. So 13 losses on the Shababan warriors, as expected, against 95 Atavi. So maybe a little bit overkill to this province. He is moving these back to his capital, but he was bringing his pretender along to site search here, so that was the idea with it, which is good. If he was just using this thing to expand, I'd be like, bruh. But yeah, this is the right move. Sight search with this thing as soon as possible. One thing he could do is blood hunt here for a minute. I mean, this has enough population for efficient blood hunting, but I guess maybe he's got some research plans back at his capital. Looks like he's pushing up conjuration, funnily enough. Now, this isn't exactly an elemental nation, so what he's probably going for are the sacred scorpions. And these things would be obnoxious to deal with the Hellbless that he has. And they are really cheap, like they're not very efficient when it comes to mage turns, but for 2 earth gems each with a bless like this, yeah, that is a good deal even. So kind of surprising. I would expect him to go for Ocelotls first, but I mean, this is faster. Ocelotls don't come in until blood 4, and he's not in the strongest of positions. And Oceania has had a couple of expansion battles, one with, just a big pile of undisciplined stuff and a bunch of peripheral units on attack rear commands. So, yep, they get right around the main army and come to the back and start tussling with the commanders back here, but everything just gets erased anyway. Jesus. Lost some of his Icti Satyrs, but that's fine. It's the Icti Centaurs and the Aphories, which are valuable units. And here's a battle with his Pretender, a little Atlantean militia here to act as distraction while he goes through his buff cycle. And the risk here against these units specifically is these ones do poison damage with their spears, and then the Shamblers just do a lot of damage. I mean, 2 15 damage attacks. That's gnarly. So we'll see how much damage this Kraken ends up taking by the end of this fight. See how they're going to take the bait? Yep. They're going to go kill that Atlantean militia, the traitor! And they're going to come fight this Kraken. And it looks like they actually aren't breaking through its mirror image, which is really, really good. And is he going to get away? Oh, nope, didn't quite get away. So yeah, easy fight for his ancient Kraken. And as a bonus, this province came with a water gem site. And now he's moving everything he has onto this province right here. And this time he's actually got his Pretender kind of forward up in the mix, which is a little risky against Shark Tribe. I mean, personally, these will probably be able to take this province. I would just want to sight search with this. There's going to come a time when you want this on your capital, doing important construction and rituals and things like that other mages in your nation aren't going to be able to do. So it's done some work, it's snagged you a couple provinces. Sight searching would be a really good thing to do with it. And something pretty funny that people were mentioning in the comments last episode is these sirens right here. You move them onto land and they become harpies with water air magic. So he could actually use one of those to pretty cheaply pull Draconians out of this magic site, which is funny. I actually have played a pretty decent amount of Oceania in blitzes and stuff. I actually didn't know that if you move these up on the land, that they turned into these little wing things. Like, I knew about the units, I just thought you recruited them from coastal provinces. I didn't realize they were the same unit just because I don't recruit very many of these. And when I do, they tend to research for the rest of the game. Usually, I'm recruiting these right here. They're more expensive, but because they're sacred, not so much in upkeep, and, they're just really good mages. And just like Vanheim, it looks like he switched up his unit composition a bit based off of my comments in the last episode. And now he's just getting Aphroi and the Ictitars. But yeah, no, this turn is like a month old. It's just funny timing. So yeah, this episode was in the cozy phase of the expansion where no flags are touching yet, though that is definitely about to change in this next turn with Ermor and Agartha are going to be right up next to each other. So we'll see how that goes, if they end up being friends or enemies, and I will see you in the next episode.